What's up everyone, Patrick here, welcome back. And in this next question, we're told that a company's product price increased from $3 to $3.45, while the quantity sold decreased from 120,000 to 81,600. And we have to figure out what was the percentage change in price, quantity sold, and then revenue. So starting with number one, the percentage change in price, what is it going to be? Well, it's going to be the new price, new minus old over old, and then that's going to be a decimal multiplied by 100. So notice how this is the old price, this is the new price. So we'll have the new minus the old all over the old times 100. And this would end up being what? 0.45 over 3, which would give us 0.15. Multiplied by 100, we'd end up with 15%. Right? So the price increased by 15%. That's the answer to number one. Number two, what's the percentage change in quantity sold going to be? Well, same thing, new minus old over old times 100. But notice there's going to be a decrease here because this is the old and then this is the new. So we're going to have 81,600 minus 120,000 all over the 120,000 times 100. And this would end up being negative 38,400, negative 38,400 in the numerator over 120,000 would give us negative 0.32. Multiplied by 100, we'd end up with negative 32%. Right, so the price increased by 15%, while the quantity sold decreased by 32%. Now moving on to number three, the percentage change in revenue. There's actually two ways to go about it. Because we have the percentage change in price and the percentage change in quantity sold, and revenue depends only on those two things, we can actually use these percentages. That's actually the second way I'm going to show you. It's the less common way. The most common way, the first way I'm going to show you, is to find what the actual old revenue is and then what the new revenue is. Now revenue, if you remember, it's basically price per unit times the quantity sold, the number of units. So what's the initial revenue? Well, we would take the old price multiplied by the old quantity sold. So we'd have 3 times 120,000, which would give us 360,000. So that's going to be the old revenue. The new revenue is going to be 3.45 times 81,600. And so when we multiply these, we would end up with 281,520 for the new revenue. And so we could use both of these numbers now to find the percentage change in revenue. Same formula. New minus old. So notice that the revenue went down actually. And you can actually tell that it went down. Before doing all this, I'll show you why. So new minus old over old times 100. And what would happen is over here, you'd end up with what? 78, $480 negative over 360,000 multiplied by 100, which would be negative 0.218 multiplied by 100, which would give us negative 21.8%. So that's the answer to number three. That's how much the revenue went down. And you could tell before even doing anything that the revenue is going to go down because the price went up by 15%, but the quantity sold went down by 32%. So even though the price went up, which would just alone would increase the revenue. The quantity sold went down by more, not on an absolute basis, on a relative basis. You got to look at the percentages. It went down by more. So this went up by 15, this went down by 32, so overall the revenue is going to decrease. You can't just subtract these, so it doesn't mean the revenue is going to go down by 17%, the net of those. You still have to do the relative calculation, but nevertheless, you could tell from these two that the revenue is going to go down. Now, to do it the second way, this is the less common way to do it, but because we have these percentage changes here, and revenue only depends on those two percentages, what we can do is we can say the initial revenue, we can just put variables for these two. So let's say that the variable for price is P, and then the variable for quantity sold is Q. So what's the new revenue going to be then? Well, we have 1P over here, so if the price increases by 15%, what's 15% of 1? It's 0.15 plus 1 would give us 1.15. And then we have a P over here. So if the initial price is P, then the new price, if this increases by 15%, the new price is going to be 1.15P. Now, if the initial quantity sold is Q, what's 32% of 1? 0.32. 1 minus 0.32 would give us 0.68. And that would be Q right there. We're basically using that final equals initial times 1 plus R formula. So the initial was Q, 1. It's a decrease, so this is going to be a minus. It's decreasing by 32%. Remember, this R is going to be in decimals, 0.32. 1 minus 0.32 gives us 0.68 times Q. So that's the new quantity sold right there. And then these two here, we can simplify this. What's 1.15 times 0.68? That would give us 0.782. And then we have PQ, like that. So PQ is the initial revenue, 0.782 PQ is the new revenue. And so plugging it into the exact same formula, what's going to happen? 0.782 PQ minus 1 PQ, new minus old, over the old. 0.782 minus 1 would give us negative 0.218. PQ over 1 PQ. And then what's happening? This cancel out. So it doesn't really depend on the price or the quantity sold. As long as that percentage increase and decrease is staying constant with whatever prices you use, they're going to end up canceling out anyway. Negative 0.218 times 100 gives us negative 21.8%. Right, so that's another way. Again, probably a less common way. If you got a question like this, you'd probably just find the new revenue, old revenue. But it may help you understand in realizing that that price and quantity numbers you use doesn't really matter as long as that relative relationship is the same. All right, so that is the answer for number 3. The revenue went down by 21.8%.